Hey guys, welcome to our rescue night. We would usually do it live, but we're trying some different things out, trying to stay socially distant, and it's going to be good. We're excited. So we are doing a kind of a testimony series where we have different leaders share their stories, and maybe eventually some of you guys sharing your stories would be awesome. And but tonight we're super pumped. Daniel, Cam and Caleb, and Mavi are going to share their stories. Richard, myself, and Leslie are hanging out. Leslie's going to lead us in a worship song at the end, so hang out for that and stay around. We do have some quick announcements. So one thing that's really, really cool and also kind of sad is that fine arts is changing. So because of all of the coronavirus stuff, won't be going to a physical, most likely, unless we'll pray for a miracle, but most likely at this point it's looking like we're going to be doing a virtual fine art. So what that means is all categories will be video recorded. So we will record categories and then submit them for evaluation, and it's a lot cheaper, which is kind of awesome. And it means you can practice your presentation as many times as you want until you get it perfectly recorded, which is really cool. So at Fine Arts, you'd be live, and if you mess up, you mess up, and that's what it is. But with this, you can really perfect it and get it where you want it. And they also, because of this change, they've also pushed the date when things are due. So this won't be due until April 30th. So that means we have over a month left. We will have to figure out practice times and how that will work, because we do want to be smart and wise about our contact with each other. We don't want to get sick. We don't want to get anybody's grandpa sick. So, all the good stuff. But anyway, so it's pretty awesome. Make sure you guys are checking in regularly on social media and seeing all the cool stuff we're doing. We want to see what you're doing. We want to hear about your life in the pandemic situation. So connect with us one-to-one and on social media. So we're going to start really quickly with a game. So before we all got on, I had everybody send me a fact about themselves. So I'm going to pull them up on my phone. All right. So I asked them to think of something that they didn't think anybody else on here would be able to guess. So I'm going to read off a fact. If it's yours, you should probably try to blame someone else. Bluff. Because otherwise, if you're the one that's really quiet, you're then everyone's gonna know that it's you. So we're gonna try to see. I'm gonna see how many you guys get, and I'll tell you at the end whose was whose. So we won't be I won't be telling you until the end. Are you ready? All right. Ready. So this one we're starting kind of easy, I think. This is pretty basic. We should know this about each other, but do we? Let's find out. All right, this person has 3 dogs. So the people playing
Mavi.
are Daniel, Cam and Caleb, Richard, Mavi, and Leslie are all playing. I didn't put one in there because I know the answers, so that would be cheating.
3
dogs.
Is it Mavi? It has to be either Leslie or Mavi.
Mavi.
I think Leslie.
Okay, Mavi. Has anyone ever been to my house? I have
once.
Actually, had a fish.
Actually, who knows?
You're here, but
I mean, unless Tristan's counting Hunter or Richard's counting Hunter.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Dogs in their house.
I'm pretty sure it's Mavi though.
Question: Are you gonna wait to tell us until the very end?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, we have to watch this whole thing?
No. It's the process of elimination.
Oh my gosh.
When do we make our official guesses?
What's that? So I'm gonna go around. So so I'm gonna start with on my screen. Daniel is top left, so I'm gonna start with Daniel. Daniel, final answer.
Oh shoot! I want to say Mavi. I'm gonna go with Mavi.
Okay, final answer is Mavi. Leslie.
I have Mavi.
Okay. Cam and Caleb.
Mavi.
Rich.
Yeah. The lighting in there is bad.
I'm pretty sure it's Mavi.
Mavi, who do you think it is?
I think Leslie.
Okay.
Whoa, you would think so now.
All right. This person got stitches put in and taken out all on the exact same day.
Mavi, what the heck?
Everything is Mavi.
You're only
I
supposed to
think-
put one
Good thing
question
it's
in, dude.
Mommy.
No. That's so weird. Who does that? Why does
I think
anyone
it's
do that
Caleb.
ever?
Or
No.
Leslie.
You know me.
I feel like Richard would be the type, honestly.
Richard too.
I think it's Cam. Weird, unfortunate medical things.
Yikes.
I don't know. Leslie might have a secret lying around.
Could be true, but it's not. I don't know.
I don't know.
I've
I
only
feel like
ever
it's
had-
one of the McLeans because they always, I hear stories.
I think it could be Caleb. I don't know for sure, but it could be Caleb. He's had lots of stitches and he probably tore them out himself.
You don't know anything.
That's true. It didn't say it was removed by an actual doctor.
Doctor, yeah.
Very true.
I have no idea.
Leslie. I think it's Leslie.
Okay, we're
Cool.
starting with Daniel. Daniel, final answer.
I think it's Tristan.
I'm not in this.
Oh, dang it. Then Richard.
Okay,
Richard is my guess.
Leslie, who do you think?
You know what? Daniel, why not? I have no idea.
Caleb, who do you think?
Do we have to guess now?
Yeah.
Can't wait to see the other ones. Elimination process.
No.
Who do you think it was?
I've heard this story before, I feel like. I don't know who told it to me, though. Cam and Richard are very similar when they tell stories.
Let's throw this out. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, man. Or it could be Leslie. She's like a wild card.
Okay.
All her Ecuadorian stitches.
We're both on the same screen, so it doesn't matter.
Well, now I think it's Richard.
Ah,
Because if you've heard it before, I think it's Richard.
Caleb could just be confusing you.
Ooh,
Or throw you off.
that-
No, guess.
okay, fine. I say, oh dear. Oh, I don't want to say something and then be a super obvious Richard one, like I'm the coolest or something. Ah.
You are the coolest, though. What do you think? Final answer. Go with your gut. What's your gut? Looks like you're pooping.
Are we going to do a Jeopardy here or something? Come on, let's go.
I'm gonna say Cam.
Cam, okay. And Cam, your final answer is?
I said Richard.
Okay. Rich, who do you think?
I think that this is something that maybe somehow happened to Leslie and we just never found out about it.
Sure, why not?
And Mavi, what do you think?
I think Caleb.
Okay. All right, next one. This person got a letter from a U.S. president once after they wrote to them when they were like 8.
Caleb McLean, final answer.
Wow.
Daniel.
Shoot.
Ooh.
Well, Daniel's his brother, so I trust him.
Okay.
That was a total guess.
Okay, shoot.
I gotta look at these people's faces.
That could also be a Richard thing. I don't know. I'm not good at reading you people. So
Me neither.
I don't know.
All right, I'm going to do a 10-second countdown, though. We're starting with Daniel. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Daniel.
Caleb McLean, final answer.
Okay. Leslie?
sure, Caleb maybe. I don't know.
Caleb?
I feel like I've heard this story before. Who did I say?
It's me.
I say Cam. Okay, I'm gonna say Leslie freaking Nope.
Okay.
All right.
I
Cam?
know you will.
I'm gonna say Caleb.
Okay. Rich?
Have I said you before? I don't think I have. I'm gonna say Caleb.
Okay.
No. But you're gonna be really sad when the next fact is I'm married to Cam.
I feel like this is somehow like a school project or something. Like write a letter and then they just wrote back or something like that. And I'm trying to think of who would have potentially done that. And I'm already guessed Leslie for once, and I'm not going to double guess anybody because that would be, I think, my first choice. So I'm going to go with Mavi.
Okay. Mavi, who do you think?
Leslie.
Okay.
All
All right, next
right.
one.
Totally double guess Mavi.
All right.
for two already, but that's the last one.
This person initiated a conversation with a high schooler they did not know today.
What? Okay. All right.
Quarantine.
Oh, you
No.
dang
Hold
it.
on. Social distancing.
Who's infecting people?
Oh.
The only two people I have left are Daniel and Richard, and none of those people would do that.
Maybe Cam? I
I
don't
would
know.
pick Cam.
Cam has quarantined herself to the house hardcore. So is Richard and Kristen.
Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah,
Then,
Fine.
but I'm not in this.
Now,
well,
yes,
Dan?
Leslie
No.
Blakely.
are you, what?
Sorry, guys. That was really awkward.
Thumbs up.
Little indies up. All right, we're just gonna go for it.
Mavi.
You pick Mavi.
I picked Mavi.
Okay,
Wait, that's double guessing. Double guesser.
that's
Are
okay.
you allowed to double guess?
You can. Yeah.
I technically double guessed Mavi, even though I said I was going to.
I'm gonna guess Richard, because I don't know.
Richard. All right, Caleb. Who do you think?
Well, I
Sounds
don't
like
want to
Caleb.
guess, even though I think I have to double guess.
Aw.
I'm going to say. I want to say Leslie because yeah, it has to be Leslie.
So everybody can go double guess because you would never guess yourself. So
Right.
Cam's not here, nor Cam is anybody. Oh, Cam, who do you think it is?
Which one?
Initiated a conversation with a high schooler.
Oh gosh. Dad, Richard.
Richard. Okay, Rich, who do you think?
I don't know.
I'm going to guess Daniel.
Okay.
Ooh, he very well could.
Wednesday?
I did work at the room today.
That's
Mhm.
true.
But you worked. You said you were at the ranch. Lies.
But I worked at the Riv this morning.
Okay.
Mavi?
What- No.
You know, I'm going to have to say Daniel.
All right.
That's what's up.
Okay.
Dr.
Next
Phil,
one.
send you to the ranch.
All right. Only two more. This person fell out of a 20-foot tree and landed on their head when they were a child.
That is so
Ooh.
specific. What?
Oh.
Who falls on their head and then goes to the tree?
I feel like it's Cam. I don't know.
20-foot tree.
Cam,
Is
what are
that
you doing in 20 foot
exaggeration?
trees?
Are we making room for exaggeration with
I don't
that
know.
tree?
This is just what they said. So.
And
Way to go, girl.
Indeed,
I
thinking
feel
about
like that's also like a Leslie thing, though, because
I'm going
I think you're a wild child with your siblings.
you know, I did climb trees, but I didn't fall out of them. So
Well,
I don't know any of these, but I don't think I've voted for Cam yet. So
Okay, Daniel, who do you think? Cam? Okay. Leslie, who do you think?
I'm gonna vote Cam for funsies.
All right. Cam, who do you think?
I don't know who I have. Daniel.
What's Caleb's guess?
Caleb, who do you think?
I say Richard.
That's Richard.
Okay. Richard, who do you think?
I think that there is no way this is not a red-blooded McLean American. I don't feel like it was Daniel, though, so I'm going to go with Caleb.
And Mavi, what do you think?
I don't think I've said Richard. I think it's Richard.
Okay. All right, last one. This person does not like the smell of rain.
That is so specific.
Is that
Who's a
possible?
communist?
Yes.
I'm gonna go with Richard. Final answer.
The smell of rain?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. I don't think I voted Daniel yet, so sure, I'll vote Daniel, though I don't think this is a Daniel thing, but here you go.
Thanks.
All right, let's go around. Daniel, who do you think it is?
Richard.
Richard. Okay, Leslie, you say Daniel.
Yeah.
Cam, who do you think?
Lastly,
Leslie. Caleb, who's Caleb think?
I need to know the
who
question.
do you think hates the smell of rain or doesn't like the smell of rain?
I don't know. A terrorist?
A terrorist.
So who on here is the terrorist, though?
I'm going to say Daniel.
Whoa, bro.
Oh, savage. Okay, Rich.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't want to defame anyone. Oh golly, who
I
doesn't
don't
like
want
it?
to defame it.
Golly gee.
Also, I'm trying not to double guess people, and I don't know who I have left. I don't know if I've actually guessed Cam for anything, but I don't feel like it's true for Cam. But I'm gonna say Cam anyway.
Okay. Mavi, who do you think?
I'm gonna guess Cam too.
All right. All right, here's the answers.
Oh,
This person
hooray.
has 3 dogs. Mavi.
Got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, we had to wait till the end.
This is the end
This is the end.
This
of
is
the game.
Oh, wait. Oh, sweet. I
Yep.
got that right.
Okay. This person got stitches put in and taken out all on the same day. Daniel.
Ah, dang it.
That's where I heard from.
Okay.
Did I vote?
That's the
No.
story we need to hear.
I'm not happy.
Yeah. This person got a letter from Obama once after they wrote to him when they were 8. Leslie.
Leslie.
Oh.
Hey.
That wasn't a school project. It was just for fun.
Just for funsies. This person initiated a conversation with a high schooler that they didn't know. Caleb.
Oh.
Yeah, he was parked in my way, and I had to go tell him to move his car.
Oh, there you go.
Right?
Okay, this person fell out of a 20-foot tree and landed on their head as a child. Richard.
And I hit a lot of branches.
What?
and landed.
Oh.
Pretty sure I got that right.
And the person who doesn't like the smell of rain is Cam.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Harris.
You liar!
Terrorist.
Every day it rains, you go crazy.
Hey, hold on. This is domestic. Oh.
It's always like, oh, it's so nice, the smell of rain. And I'm like, I lied because everyone thinks that. And it's nasty. It's gross. My baby's crying.
Oh no.
It is typically
Okay.
like the smell of rain is the water gathering all the weird stuff in the air and like dropping it down. So
Yeah, gross.
It's kind of,
I
yeah.
guess that kind of makes sense.
Some people love it. I don't appreciate it.
All right, so let's, if you guys can mute until it's your turn to share your testimony, that way it's a little easier for people to focus.
Wait, who won the game?
I don't know, I didn't keep track. How many did you guys get right? I don't remember.
I
Mavi, you're
don't know.
missing. Where'd she go?
I don't know how to do it.
There
How
should
do you
be a
mute it?
button.
Where?
I'm not sure because I don't.
Okay, I found it.
Reach your microphone down
Okay.
bottom left corner.
Hold up. Oh no, I lost it.
Okay, cool. So, who wants to go first? Someone give a thumbs up. All right, Daniel's ready to go first. And after that, you want to do Cam? Do you want to do second? Cool. And then Mavi third, and then we'll finish up with Caleb. Okay, sweet. So today we're going to be talking about some rescue stories. So some stories of just things God did in people's lives. So I'm going to ask a couple questions about their story, and then they're going to tell us what God did and how God was the hero. And our hope is that as everybody who's watching this is thinking about their own story and things God did in their life, they would maybe be encouraged and inspired and challenged to think of ways to share God's story in their life. So we're going to start with Daniel. Daniel, what kind of story are you telling? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking back to when I was like 17, 18, and just kind of where my relationship with the Lord was then, and how that drastically changed between like 17 and like 20.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Do you want to tell us about that? Like what made that change happen, or what was it like before?
So, I mean, I grew up in church and I gave my life to the Lord at a young age, and I had personal encounters with him. But I think for me, it was really hard to keep God number one. I feel like throughout high school, there was a lot of just kind of trying to balance doing the fun things and then doing the church thing, living for myself, but also not doing anything super bad. That way I could still live for God on Sunday. And that's not the way to live life. But that's what I tried to do. And I think at 17, I was just really aware that's like, God really deserves like 100% of me, and not just a part, and not just on a Sunday or on a Wednesday. And like for me, during that time, I think I was thinking about today when I was praying for tonight, and honestly, the big thing that kept me at a distance from the Lord was things that not necessarily were sin, but they just fed a desire to live for myself. And so honestly, looking back on high school years, some of the biggest things that hindered my relationship with the Lord was just secular music and movies and just always hanging out with friends. And that, well, those things aren't bad in and of themselves, but it kept the focus on me and what I wanted. And that really kept me at a distance from the Lord. And I would go to like youth camps or summer camps, and it would be awesome because I'd be away from those things, and the focus would be all about Jesus. And I remember in like that I was just like, man, I want to do this all the time. I want to take Jesus seriously. I want to live for him, not myself. And I remember having that desire and that longing to live for the Lord like that. And then coming back and just kind of falling apart and just not being able to continue that. And I think when I was like 17, I was listening to a message by Judah Smith, and he was talking about she breaks the alabaster bottle of fragrance at Jesus's feet, and the disciples were judging her. How can this person be like this? And Jesus tells this parable about someone that was forgiven $500 in comparison to someone that was forgiven $50, and he asks the Pharisees and his disciples, who loves the master more, the one that was forgiven the 500 or the one that was forgiven the 50? And the Pharisee responded, well, the one that was forgiven more. And Jesus said, you've rightly said, those who have been forgiven much love much. And Judah Smith was just teaching on that, but it really stuck out to me. It's like, I don't love much. And that really convicted me, because my life was more about not doing anything bad. It wasn't caught up in loving Jesus. It was more, I just don't want to be bad. And I think realizing that I am bad and that the Christian life isn't about not doing something bad, but it's about living for Jesus, the lover of your soul, and that he has forgiven me much and he loves me much. And I remember in that 17, 18 time, just getting kind of desperate before the Lord in prayer, being like, God, I know that you're real and I want to live for you. But I'm so distracted with all these things, and I don't know how to live for you better. And but I know I'm not living for you the way I should. And I remember saying things like, God, just if you want me to serve you, just take away my free will. Or God, if you want me to serve you, just make it impossible for me to sin, or things like that. And because I really wanted to take God serious, but I just didn't know how to do it on a consistent basis. And I went to a winter camp, and the guy there was just talking about taking Jesus seriously, and everything resonated with me. And I was just like, man, I want want this on a daily basis, not just at camps. I want to live for Jesus fully. And this guy talked about a school that he was starting. And so I was like, okay, maybe I'll go to that. And so I signed up for that, and then found out that at this school, it was going to be pretty strict, and we weren't allowed to listen to any secular music, and we weren't allowed to watch anything over PG. And it was a 2-year commitment. And I was like, oh, great. I'm going to be listening to Caleb and watching VeggieTales for the next 2 years of my life. This is terrible. But I ended up going to that school. And again, these weren't necessarily things that were sinful. They're just things that didn't feed a love for Jesus. And giving those things up and really living my life not to not mess up, but to keep Jesus number one and to love him, and taking the opportunities with music and movies and being around people that foster a love for Jesus. And I saw just that difference in my life and how that really changed me a lot, because I think it was just a different way of living. It wasn't living to not mess up, but it was living to love Jesus. And with that, I would say that where Jesus is at in that is Jesus reached out to me through his word, with the truth of scripture. And he also reached out to me and showed me that in the practice of his bride and in the body of Christ. And I saw people keeping Jesus as number one and living for him passionately. And I was surrounded by people like that and was encouraged to live out that life. And that really changed me. And as the years have gone by, I'm 29 now, so I have 10 years on it now. And looking back, that was one of the major shifts, I think, in my life, was just prioritizing. I want to surround myself with people, and I want to keep an atmosphere in my life that pushes me to love Jesus and doesn't just push me to live for myself or to entertain myself to my own selfish desires. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really good. So I think can you talk a little bit about, looking back now, I'm sure that change seems a little shorter than it felt, sometimes.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? What was it like that change happening, making that switch in your mind and your spirit? And
I wasn't excited about it. My spirit was excited about it, but my flesh was really not excited. Actually, I remember the day before I was going to fly out, going to Richard and Tristan's and watching movies that were we got to live it up. I want to listen to secular music all day today, and which was terrible. Was not the right thing to do, but I really was not. But I also knew that it was going to be good, and at this ministry school, they just gave us structure. We're going to pray every day. We're going to read our Bible every day. We're going to worship every day. We're going to pray every day. And I think the consistency of spending time with God and meeting God on a day-to-day basis I think that really just opened my eyes. This is something that I can do all the time, and I can just. And I think that was hard. It wasn't hard when I was at school, but it was hard when I came back home and was around all my friends and everyone that knew me before. And I remember when I got back the first time, I came back on winter break for Christmas, and I went on a walk with my best friend Tyler, who pretty much we just worked together for 3 summers straight, and we just spent our money on movies. And that's what we did. We'd work all day, then we would get money. I made $5 an hour, and then we would buy movies and watch them all night long. That's what we did. And I just remember coming back and just being like, hey man, I really want to keep taking Jesus seriously, and I want to keep making him number one. And I just can't do that with these things. And so our friendship is going to have to change a little. Now, thankfully, Tyler Wells is an amazing, good friend. And he's like, no problem, bro, let's do it. And so that was cool. But that was a hard conversation to have because I didn't know how he's going to respond, you know? But yeah, and again, it's also hard because it's not sin. Like, it's not sin to watch a movie. It's not sin to listen to secular music. But it was just something, and I would rather fill that time, you know. And I just noticed the impact on my life and how it had helped over the last 6 months. And so, did that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. What did you learn about Jesus through that switch? Like,
I think the big switch there was that Jesus really does ask for first place. And he really asks to be the king of our heart and to be the passion that we live for. And that he wants to have fellowship with us every day and all the time. That the idea of like praying without ceasing, this idea that I can be in constant communion with the Lord. And I think that was huge for me, is encountering God on the day-to-day and having fellowship with Jesus on the day-to-day was just eye-opening for me, and realizing that I didn't need to go to a conference to experience him, and I didn't need to have a worship band playing so that I can meet with him. But he really wants to be with me all the time, and that I can experience that. So I think that's I think that was a big thing. I think the other thing with that was just seeing the worthiness of Jesus and realizing that I have been forgiven much, that he didn't die for me because I was good, and he didn't die for me because one day I would make it up to him, but understanding that and why I was yet a sinner and why I was being selfish and living for myself, he loved me and died for me. And I think that was really eye-opening for me too, in the person of Jesus during that time.
What would you say to someone who's going through something similar, or maybe they're struggling with a lot of the same feelings you had before, of feeling disconnected, or like they can't live for God on their own? Like,
I would say read the Bible. I would say when you hear preachers talk about scriptures and your heart connects with the truth that's being said, like he sold everything and followed Jesus, or they left everything and followed Jesus, or they went after him with everything, and you read stuff like that and you're like, how do I do that? Why isn't that truth in my own life? And because I think that was the thing. I would read scripture, and I was in church, and I'd hear about stories like that, and I'd be like, wow, that's amazing. That's incredible. How did they do that? And I think understanding that God doesn't show personal favoritism to anybody. He invites us all to that. And the difference between Moses and me is that Moses said yes, and I'm saying no. The difference between Enoch and me isn't that God wants to walk with Enoch more than he wants to walk with me, but it's that Enoch said yes, and I said I want to do my own thing. And so I would deal with the weight of when you hear those scriptures, deal with the weight of God's word and be like, that is God's desire for me. And then also allow God's church, his body, the people that around you that do challenge you, don't write that off as like, oh, that's just Tristan. She just has a special relationship with the Lord. I can't have a relationship like that. But allow the relationship with God that other people has to challenge you and to push you, and not excuse yourself from living for the Lord like other, follow people like they follow Christ. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. That's really, really cool. I think a lot of people can relate to that. So going through that change between knowing Jesus and like fully going for it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cameron, you ready? She's unmuting.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Yay. So you're going to share part of your story. What part are you thinking of sharing?
So I'm going to share my story about my health issues that I've had for about 6 years now. So it's that's what I'm gonna share. Do you want me to just go for it?
Yeah, just go for it. Give them some background and go for it.
So about 6 years ago, I started having really bad stomach issues, and to the point where I was losing tons of weight, and I'm already a very tiny human. So it was pretty scary, and I was just put on a lot of medication, and a lot of doctors were like, I don't know what's going on, just change your diet, eat more fiber. Anyway, so I was diagnosed with IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome. It's basically like you have stomach issues and we don't know what's going on, and your anxiety is the reason, basically. And so that was like a super crappy time in my life, and with anxiety and all and stuff, and like not feeling like I could do anything anymore. I would have to go to the restroom a lot, and it's really embarrassing. And I was having stomach issues all the time, and it's not really something that like how old was I? 24-year-old, 23-year-old wants to deal with. So it made life hard, and it made me pretty sad, and I didn't really want to do anything. That's also around the time when I stopped being a youth leader. So it just felt like I couldn't do anything. And I mean, I feel like it kind of made my relationship with God not so great, because I felt like, why the heck would you do this to me? Like, why do I have the runs all the time? Sorry guys, it's a little too much information, but and so it was really sad. And and it was also around the time when I was dating Caleb, and like getting married and doing all these things that should be really fun were more like hell to me, because it means I had to be around people. I had to be the center of attention. And I hated that, and that gave me more anxiety. And there was a lot of times when I would do something and I probably seemed okay, but then I would go home crying and weeping because my stomach was messed up. And, I prayed a lot, and I thought like, okay, well, why did God decide to let this happen to me? It's not even that big a deal. It's not like I have cancer or anything, but to me it was, is what was going on. And I felt pretty useless as a human. I felt like, God, if you really want me to serve you, I feel like I can't anymore. So that was great. And then, and so I it caused a lot of issues not too long ago when my stepdad was sick and had cancer. Like, I couldn't even say goodbye to him because I couldn't go farther without like having stomach issues and vomiting. So it's like my body hated me, which is crazy and sad. And and so then I had Indy, and some of those, when I was pregnant with her, some of those things went away. My stomach isn't as bad, but now I have different issues. So it's like I'm constantly battling with health issues and doctors not knowing what is wrong with me. So I'd say like that's probably one of my biggest struggles, and just realizing like God is still good and God is still in it. And just because, things aren't how I would want them to be. I mean, of course you want to be in great health and be, doing things like going on family vacations without it, being something that you're not going to be able to enjoy as much because you're going to feel like crap. And like, that's how I felt towards everything. It's like, I felt like I can't go anywhere and I can't help with anything because I'm probably just going to have to end up going to the restroom or feeling like crap all the time. So, I would say that has been one of my biggest, struggles and things that have been going on. But I guess, I don't know. Tristan, do you want to ask anything?
Yeah. Like, I know that sometimes when you look back on hard things, can you talk about some of the times you've seen God moving in even the hard stuff?
I guess, I don't know if I've like seen him move, but I guess just knowing that I can get through it and I can like push through it. And, I've met a lot of people who have like also had stomach issues. It feels like everyone has stomach issues nowadays. But so it's nice to be like relate to people and be like, oh, I have that too, and I can still like do things like. And sometimes it's harder and it looks different, but and I think it's also like being married and wanting to do stuff, but then not being able to do anything like was really hard because I felt like I was not worthy of Caleb in a sense because I felt like I was broken. I was a broken human, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, you deserve so much better than me. But I think, you know, obviously Caleb does not believe that. And yeah, I feel like God has still used me in those times that like you can get through hard things, and people who go through way harder things. And of course, like there's moments where I'm like, oh yeah, God was still good, even in those times when I felt like crap. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. How do you, like, you talked a little bit about anxiety, like what do you do, like what's your, for someone that's struggling with anxiety, would you
I think my biggest thing is talking about it. That was, I think, having someone that you can constantly go to. And for me, obviously, I'm married, so you know, Caleb is my best friend, and I talk to him constantly. So I think talking about it and just, I don't know, for me, if I like get it out there, like it's better.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I were to tell people that, oh, these are the issues I have, then it's like, it's okay. Like I can share. And humor, I think, you know, a lot of jokes are good. But yeah, anxiety wise, just like, and then I'd say get help. I mean, pray about it. You can always pray about it, but also like, you know, medication is not bad all the time, but it's good to figure out what works for you and stuff. And but I think talking about it is like the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. How's your perspective now, like after you're like managing it more, different than when you first started going through it and you're just like, what is this? Like, can you talk a little bit about like where you were mentally and how's your perspective changed?
I don't know if I'd say my perspective per se has changed. I think just being more prepared, I guess, would be the thing. I'm more prepared to how to like deal with things, I guess. So that helps, and just trying to I don't know, plan better, know what's gonna happen. So is probably something that I would say. Just feel like I could make this more deep, but
no, you're good. What have you learned about who Jesus is?
I mean, I kind of touched on it, like, you know, God is so good. And I know I went through a point where I was like, okay, God, just like heal me. Like I've prayed that so many times, like just heal me, heal me, heal me. But it's like that song, like that says like all God's answers are like yes or amen. It's like I still just have to be like, amen, God. Like it's still okay. I'm still gonna serve you. I'm still, you know, I still have something to give even through this. And you know, hopefully someday I won't have all these issues. But yeah, I think just that Jesus is still Jesus, and he still can heal people, but sometimes it's not the case, and that's okay. That's okay that that's not the case.
Yeah. You talked about it a little bit, but do you like you talked about being able to relate to people who have the same thing. How would you recommend, like, what tips do you have for people that are going to share their stories or relate to people?
I guess just not be afraid. I mean, because most likely someone is going through what you're going through, and it's good to know that there's people like that too. And I think it gives you a sense of, I don't know, not confidence per se, but just like, I don't know, it's nice to know people are going through something that you're going through as well. So, yeah.
Hey, thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
Yay.
Myself.
All right, Mavi, are you ready? Ooh, ooh. You're still muted. You'll have to unmute for a second.
Okay, there we go. I got it. it worked.
All right. All right, what part of your story did you want to share with us tonight?
Well, I guess I'll share how God worked in my life during my parents' divorce, I guess. So yeah, my parents divorced when I was very young, and it was a really hard time going back and forth and seeing both of them like for not very long. And during that time, I felt very alone. I felt like neither one of my parents really gave me love or affection, or even like my family, because they would start just saying horrible things about my parents. When I would be 1 week with my mom, they would say something about my dad. When I'm with my dad, they would say something about my mom. So it was a very hard time in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like you were in the middle a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
So can you tell us like what you saw, like how did God get you through that, or how is that now? How is it different than it was then? How has that changed you?
Yeah. So I've always been raised in the church ever since I was born. So it helped a lot when, like, I don't know how to say it in English, but like the hermanos or like the hermanas of the church would like talk to us. And I'm sorry, Joshua's making faces at me. So like they would, tell me like God's with you through it, he's there with you. And I like would be like, oh yeah, yes, but I wouldn't really feel it. And then like when I was in my teens, it really hit me hard, the separation and then going back and forth and the whole being in the middle. And so I felt really alone and sad, and like it was a really bad time. But I don't know, like one of the days that I was just at my worst during this whole thing, I know it sounds cheesy or whatever, but I felt his like presence, and like I like bawled my eyes out. And like it was like this reassurance that he was there with me, and that no matter what, he's gonna love me and he's gonna be with me through everything, and that all these things that are happening are for a good reason, and that he's just there with me. So that's how he helped me. And like I read scriptures, like I don't remember them now, but like I just like have like a thing where it's like he is always with me no matter what, whether we feel it or whether I felt it or not. He was there with me through everything. And so that was a reassurance.
So looking back now, from where you are now, can you see that God was doing stuff even when you didn't feel it? Like,
definitely, yes. Like it's crazy because it built me up to the person I am now, and how I interact with my parents and with my family. So it's helped a lot, and just knowing that God was there, it kind of helped me get out of going into like depression, because I feel like, and I've heard that when their parents divorce, that they go into like not like a mode, but like they can go into depression, they can get into drugs, they can get into different things. And I felt like he saved me from those things. I've never done drugs. I never went like crazy and did crazy things like go get a tattoo underage or whatever. So I feel like God really kept me from doing those things and doing things that in the end will hurt me. So yeah.
have you, like, how has this part of your story been like a piece in the bigger story of your life? Like, how has God been able to use this piece of like your parents' divorce?
I think it helps with my other siblings, because most of my siblings are in a broken home, or like even my cousins, like just people I know, most of them live in a broken house. They either have just the mom or just the dad. And so like when they talk to me about their frustrations and stuff, it's easy for me to be like, to relate to them and talk to them about it and be like, okay, well, you're doing great so far. So just talking to them and comforting them, and so.
Yeah. What has Jesus taught you about himself through it, and also about you? Like, has there been anything you've learned about God and about yourself?
The one thing that he taught me about myself is that I'm stronger than what I think, and I'm more resilient. And the one thing that he taught me about himself was he is greater. He is greater and good. And yeah.
What would you say to someone who's struggling with like family stuff, or has gone through a divorce, or just is feeling a lot of unsettled?
I would say be strong, get through it. Don't fall into temptations. Don't fall into depression. Don't do things that are going to hurt you in the end. And if you need someone to talk to, you can come talk to me. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. That's great. I think that like you being able to relate to people who have had that same struggle is like really, really valuable. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah.
All right, Caleb, you ready?
Yes. Oh,
Okay,
yes.
away.
Wait, not ready. Yeah, not way. Now, yes.
All right. So yeah, if you want to share a little bit about your story, and then I'll try to ask some more questions to go depth-wise, but pretty much we're just talking about seeing Jesus in your story.
Okay, cool. So my story is pretty hard, but life's hard, so that's how it goes. It starts when I was a kid, probably, outside of a. Well, first off, I had some really rich parents, and when your parents are rich, there's always hoodoos that give you stitches and take your riches. So let's pan over to like outside this movie theater in an alleyway, dark. Out comes this man who robs my parents. The robbery goes bad. He ends up murdering both my parents, and I become an orphan and get raised by my butler named Alfred.
You're Batman?
Oh, sorry. That was just the movie I watched the other day. Serious. I'm getting sidetracked already. Yeah, so my story, really want to talk about my main challenge in life, and that is my main challenge has always been not focusing 100% on Jesus. I don't know if all you guys know, but the story of Mary and Martha that Jesus tells, you hear him telling Martha to stop working so hard and choose that which is necessary, which is building a relationship with Christ. And I think that's always been a struggle for me, because I've always wanted to work on stuff. I always wanted to stay busy. And so often when you stay busy and you're set on something, you find out that you're not choosing the one thing that is necessary. And so just kind of throughout all of my Christian life, which has been, since I was probably 10 years old or so, but that's always been a struggle, is how do I make sure I'm choosing what is necessary, not just what I'm told to do, not just trying to be good, not just trying to do good things like preparing a meal or whatever. It's choosing that which is necessary. And yeah, that's kind of the challenge. And I don't know, let's see here.
What's helped you in like being able, like what things have helped you be able to do that more?
Definitely the people you surround yourself with. I come from a great Christian family, so family has really helped me stay focused on Jesus and building a relationship with him, as well as my church family. Been going to church for a long time, so they've all helped me stay focused as well. And just coming to the point where you can realize yourself that, hey, this isn't where I need to be. This isn't, I'm getting a little sidetracked, I'm veering off the road a little bit. I got to recalculate here. I got to stay on course. And so just those things. Yeah.
How do you know when you're getting sidetracked personally? Like if there's someone who's like, maybe I'm doing this, I'm not really sure. Like what are things that like, how's God spoken to you or showed you like that your focus is wonky?
I think probably, I know, a lot of times you just have that inner conscience telling you like, hey, you're not exactly doing this for the right reasons, or your motives aren't correct here. And for me, that tends to happen a lot. I mean, there's obvious signs that you see if it gets to a point where it's obvious, like you stop reading your Bible in the morning, you stop feeling the need and the desire to have intimacy with Christ. So that in itself is a sign. But a lot of times, like, I'll be working and focused on a thing that's really good. It's something that needs to be done. It's something that should be done. And it's, wait a second, you're doing this because you want to look good, or you're doing this because, you want other people to see you that way, versus I'm doing this because I want to show how much God has done for me and how much I love and care about him. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Cam and the baby help too.
She just calls you out.
Yeah. That's garbage, Caleb. Stop living in a dump. You're cooler than that and stuff. So that helps.
How has this piece of your story like affected the other ones? Like what parts of your story, if you start to get like kind of off balance, how does that affect the rest of your life?
It kind of blows everything else up in your face. I don't know. When you get sidetracked, like, I'm trying to think of a good example. I think it's amazing that even though we get sidetracked and go on a totally different path than we probably should have, God still uses that for good and stuff. For example, I was sidetracked with work a lot of times, and there was this one time where I took this job in Cascade Locks, and it really wasn't, looking back now, I don't think it was a good decision for me to make, because it was leaving that family, and it was leaving that, and she didn't like it.
I remember that. Yeah.
I was his conscience, and he didn't listen to me.
I said red hair don't care and went anyway, and it didn't work out. Well, and the job was really horrible, and you just dealt with people that were like, blah, 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 lame. So anyway, it's just an example of when you get off focus of what's really important versus like me viewing work as most important, then you find yourself in a place you're not supposed to be.
Yeah. So like you talked about a little bit about like you could tend to put work in that spot, but do you think there's other things people could put in that spot too, like, or that could get off balance?
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of times people put like lovey-dovey stuff in that spot, like, oh, my boyfriend or my girlfriend, she's like everything, and I just want to be with him all the time. And I was thinking about Jesus, but then I was thinking about them, and I was like, forget you, Jesus. I can't hold your hand right now. Stuff. So that, and just, I don't know, schoolwork, just focused on, being successful in school. I think a lot of times just the desire to please people often takes you off track from what God's asking you to do as well.
That's really good. What have you learned about Jesus through this whole thing? Like,
I've learned that he is incredibly patient, and no matter how many times you feel like you've messed up or you missed the whole point, he's always there, and he's always ready to forgive. And it doesn't, I don't know, it's just his mercies are never ending, it seems like. And it's just amazing that even though you've been off track for so long, you can still feel God's presence, and you can still feel him knocking on your heart saying, you're veering, you're off track, come back. And so just that really is a huge thing.
So if you're speaking to someone that is like going through the same thing where they feel like their focus is off or they're off track or something, what would your advice be to them? What would you say to them?
I would say what's the root of that? What has caused you to get off track? What have you prioritized above God that has placed you off track? And how do we get back? What changes do we make right now that will put us back on the right track? What can we change immediately? The past is past, it's over with, it's done. How can we change our lives now so we can build a stronger, better relationship, get to that next level with God? And yeah, just that.
Awesome. That's really good. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Yay. So now that Batman's done, Leslie's gonna sing us a song. She's gonna close us out with a worship song. Do you want to pray, Leslie, too, before you sing? That'd be great.
I'd love to. Okay. Yeah, let's pray. God, thank you so much just for all of these people sharing their stories. God, I pray that there would be people who hear these stories, and just, God, that all of us would see you in them, that we would learn more about you, that we would grow in our desire to seek after you with everything and to trust you with our lives. And God, just thank you for all that you are. Help us to know you more and to grow closer to you. In Jesus' name, amen. So this song is called New Wine. I don't know if you guys have heard it before, but it's a good one. In the crushing, in the pressing, you are making new wine. In the soil I now surrender, you are breaking new ground. So I yield to you and to your careful hand. When I trust you, I don't need to understand. So make me a vessel, make me an offering, make me whatever you want me to be. God, I came here with nothing but all you have given me. Oh Jesus, bring me wine.
breaking new wine. In the soil I now surrender. You are breaking new ground. You are breaking new ground. So make me a vessel. Make me an offering